step, drop, step. Okay, but this is like number 6, where I could be running moves inside my step. So eventually it's, you got to be able to do the drop while you're moving. It's not separate, just too slow. So if you watch, come forward, it's like, I never stop moving. So the drop was inside my step. Okay?
Is that like the deceptive plate that we're working on?
Well, in some ways it's somewhat similar. It's not really, it's just, I just need to not lose momentum.
Right.
You know, if I have to stop my forward momentum in order to do the drop and then start up again, I'm doing this repeated process of 0 to 60, which takes a certain amount of time. What I'd like to do is go 0 to 60 on that first move and be at 60 without stopping.
So the thought is immediately when you recognize the block, you just dipped under and then you continue to block?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because what it looks like is that as he is actually blocking, you're already dipping.
Well, okay. Always ask yourself, at what point did you know he was doing what he was doing? And if you could read what he was doing, why the fuck are you still there? Now, we're doing the basic form, so I'm sitting here letting him do his deflection, and then I am countering it. But eventually it could be, because I recognized what he was doing early, and I already counted. He was going to get that.
Right.
Higher level. It's not going to turn into the form exactly either. I wouldn't have guys do it that way on a test, because the test is still, no matter how fast, I told you about Kaizen and Kevin doing it at light speed, but they still did each piece. Later, if I knew he was going to block that one, why would I throw it? I'm already in the next thing. And that's where you're moving, the progression in your Aikido is to move from the physical towards the energetic. Okay? So you learn to do these things physically. You learn the mechanics of it. You know, did I collapse? Did I not collapse? Once it's not collapsible, no one should ever push on it. What would, if I'm looking at you and your alignment's good, I will never test that out, because testing it will create an opening in me. So I learned to read it. And if you look discombobulated, then I'll crush it. And if you don't look discombobulated or feel discombobulated, I'm not going to let you have the opening by contending with you. So your question about contending, I never contend. Okay? Eventually. We do a little bit of contending at the beginning of training or intermediate levels of training to check each other's alignment. So I will push on your sword just to make sure it doesn't collapse. And then I'm learning, because I'm going, does that collapse? Yes. Does that collapse? No. And I learn to look at it. Eventually I can look at you and know whether it'll collapse or not. Okay? If I look at you and see it strong, I'm going somewhere else. I am not going to push on something that's not going to give away, because that will create an opening in me. Does that make sense? So these are the progressions of your training. So there's no question that once I learn how to do this move on the fly, I can change the timing. I'll get him to commit to that, I'm already there. And that starts to be what the Kazumi stuff is about. So I gave him something basically to bait him. I didn't expect that to be the move that won. I gave him something he had to deal with, and knowing he had to deal with it, I'm already into the next move. Okay? People have to be exceptionally fast or know how to really wait till the last second to make it hard for you to read. If you watch Phil here, I'm a lot faster than Phil. So at what point does he have to start moving to get to pull this off? Right away. Now look how fast he has to move. He's like, I'm so fast that he knows he absolutely has to react instantly to have any chance. If he's any later than that, he's too late. Knowing that, and see, he pushed against it. Nice idea, he actually got the pitch turn. But see him backing up and pushing, it's like he's going, oh, should have been night. And all I'm going to do is kill him on the next one. So yeah, that's the next step, okay? So your answer is, anytime you have to ask yourself whether or not you're contending, the answer is always no. You're never contending, unless it's a basic exercise in which the contending has a learning function for both of you. And that's really early on. Later, you want to just expunge absolutely any instinct you have to contend. Okay? If you're there, I'm somewhere else. Okay? By the time we're talking about people at the advanced level, both people have good structure, both people have good intention, both people are fast. And at that point, contention goes out the window completely. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Good. A little more.
I